on the record in Highlands Cooperative versus Tenant and Morgan Musa. Musser? Okay.
We're on the wrong side. Once again, Your Honor, my name is Ed Mall, M-A-H-L.
Mr. Musser, correct?
Correct.
Okay, today was the date scheduled for hearing on this matter. Did you all come to a resolution at this time?
No.
So this is for an eviction for non-payment of rent, correct?
Correct.
Okay, do you have a lawful reason whereby you are withholding rent?
No, I was in court with my uncle who was trying to evict me all the way up until just a couple weeks ago.
Your uncle was trying to evict you from this property, you're saying?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
And he didn't have rightful ownership of that. And they're trying to charge me for rent while that was going on. So
rent while what was going on?
while I was in court with my uncle over an eviction. So I was
You've been living in this property for how long?
I've been living there for almost 10 years.
Okay, and so what are you saying the past due rent amount is? Counsel?
As of today, the total is $3,796.
He's on a lease, or there's some contract about how much he's supposed to be paying?
This is not a normal landlord-tenant situation. This is a cooperative apartment. And the owner of the person who was the member of the cooperative was Jeanette Dugan, who is a deceased person. She died in September, I believe, of last year. This gentleman is a grandson or a nephew? Grandson. He's been living there, but he's not a member, so he does not really have a right to be there at all.
What was the agreement for him to pay rent? Is what my question was. How much was do you have an agreement to pay?
There was no agreement with him at all.
So why is this a non-payment of rent and not termination of tenancy? So then there should have been termination of tenancy
He
then.
did send one, yes.
No, this is non-payment.
Yes, for non-payment.
No, it's supposed to be termination of tenancy, which is a different eviction.
It is a different eviction. That's the one the uncle filed, but we were accepting rent from him for a period of time.
Okay, so there was an agreement for him to pay rent of some sort. It could have been verbal.
Verbal.
There was a, well,
Sorry.
so he doesn't know. You don't know if there was an agreement for him to pay
There was
rent?
no written agreement for him to pay rent.
But
He was
counsel, you
allowed-
know that written agreements aren't the only agreement. If he had a talk with someone, you're gonna pay this amount per month, and that's what he's been doing. That's what I want to know. What was the agreement and what amount was it?
All right, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Your name, ma'am?
Nanette Miller, I'm the property manager.
Okay,
He made 1 month, one payment after his grandmother died. His grandmother died in September. He made an
what
October
was the
payment,
agreement for the amount that he was supposed to pay?
$596
Per month?
per month,
Due when?
due on the first of the month.
First of the month, and this was to begin when?
It began October 1st.
Of 2024? Is that a yes?
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay. Is that accurate?
Yes,
Okay, and so you said he made one payment?
One payment, and it wasn't even the total amount.
That was in October?
Yes,
How much did he pay in October?
he paid, in October, he made a payment of 520.
Is that accurate?
yes,
Okay, and no payment since then?
No,
Is that accurate?
yes.
So what's the problem?
Well, the problem is I was under the impression when I went to go pay the remaining balance for October and for November that, well, the office told me that it was paid for and to not worry about it. And I
Who's
asked
the
them,
office? Who told you that?
not Nanette, but the receptionist. I can't remember her name.
Well, it's
right now,
hearsay. Do
but
you have a witness here to tell you that, to prove that it was paid for?
No,
Any other proof that it was paid for?
Nope.
Okay. It wasn't paid for by you though, correct?
correct.
When were you served a notice to quit and vacate?
I was not.
You were not served with a notice to quit and vacate?
I was served with the notice for the previous court date.
What previous court date?
The Zoom meeting on The dismissal for the case of my uncle was the 27th, and it was that following Wednesday. Was when our first court date for this case was.
I have here a demand for possession for non-payment of rent. It says it was signed on November 12th, 2024 by Nanette Miller. There's a certificate of service. It said it was sent to you first class mail.
I did not receive it. I didn't sign for anything either.
Well, it's first class mail, you wouldn't. Did you receive a return undeliverable?
No,
Okay, and so then after that, there would have been a complaint that was filed. I see a complaint was filed, and it's dated February 2025. There was a second mailing that went from the court to you. So you did get notice and you did appear to the first court date. So other than the fact that someone who you don't know the name of and you have not subpoenaed here today to testify, told you that the rent was paid, what other reasons do you believe that you don't owe the $596 for each month plus the remaining balance from October?
Well, my vehicle was towed out of the parking lot and is still currently sitting in an impound because the plow truck driver was trying to come through and clear the parking lot. However, that should have been just a $50 fee, not just a whole impounding my car. And
I'm sorry, what does that have to do with this? I'm confused.
well, the value of the car is worth way more than what they're trying
Your
to
car
get for.
was
So,
towed from where?
my parking lot,
The parking lot where this property is?
yes.
And why?
Their reasoning was because it was in the way of the plow truck driver.
Whose reasoning?
The
You received
officers.
notice about it being plowed? I mean, being moved for that reason?
I received a phone call that I missed, and when I contacted the office about my car being missing, they said that they towed it.
Okay, so the car was towed. Why didn't you go get it out of the impound?
I couldn't afford it. So I was unemployed at the time.
So how was that their problem?
I mean, it should have been a $50 fee instead of,
What should have been,
But now
why should have been a
$1,000.
$50 fee?
that was the agreement in the lease.
Where's the lease?
They refused to give me a copy of the lease.
You signed one?
I was on the lease as an occupant.
Did you
yeah.
sign a lease?
Yes.
When?
This was last year, I want to say June.
You signed the lease last year in June, but then there wasn't an agreement for you to pay rent until October?
I was paying my grandmother for the rent, and my grandmother was one paying rent.
You signed the lease and then you paid your grandmother for the rent?
I was on the lease as an occupant. I wasn't, like, we were both,
So your grandmother was a leaseholder?
yes.
Was there a lease? Because she is named here.
Occupancy agreement.
was it occupancy?
Can I see it?
What he's speaking of is in June of last year, we do income reviews and he signed paperwork for his income
Let
review.
me see the agreement. So I can see why he thinks that it should have been $50.
I can tell you that.
You can.
The $50 is a fine that we find if you don't move your car out of the lot. However, he was told back when his grandmother died that he had to get a sticker put on his car back in October.
The
And he never.
sticker saying that he could park there?
Mhm,
Is that a
and
yes?
That's a yes, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Yes, and so then this didn't get towed till I believe February. And he still had never come up and got a sticker put on the vehicle.
I had applied for a sticker, and they took my title to get a copy of the title, and that was the last I heard from the office. I checked back in, they said they didn't have a title. They didn't have any of my records
If you
showing
were,
that I owned the car.
so
but
occupants have to have a sticker.
Yes, they do.
If you've been an occupant since June, why didn't you have a sticker?
I don't have an excuse for that.
Thank you. How is this there? I don't see where it says that it's gonna cost you $50 to get your vehicle if it's towed. I don't see that. Where can I find that, sir?
I'm sure it's the $50 fee is what it should have been for the plow truck driver, not
It's $50 for the plow truck driver?
for, it's the fine that they issue when a car isn't moved for the plow truck driver if he's coming to clear stuff.
That might be in the rules and regulations, Judge, and and we don't have those with us.
Okay, I was
We're
gonna say, I don't
not
see
trying
that
to,
here.
we're not trying to recover $50 for that.
Well, he's trying to say he's trying to recover the cost of his vehicle because his car was towed. You don't have a basis to recover the cost of your vehicle because the car is towed. You may reasonably been able to pursue the cost of the impound fees if you can demonstrate to the court that your vehicle was unlawfully towed. But you're not demonstrating that right now. What you're demonstrating is that you had a duty and responsibility to get a sticker. And from what you're telling me, you've been a resident there for a long time and that you failed to do it. So what else do you got as to why you haven't paid the rent? Because you definitely owe it.
Yes, I do owe I owe this month and last month.
And why don't
But
you
up
owe November, December, January, February?
That was because my uncle was trying to evict me from the property, and it was my understanding through verbally that my uncle was paying the rent for that property that he was trying to evict me to. Those were his
How
grounds
does
for
your uncle
trying
have anything to do with this? I'm confused. Or maybe you're the one that's confused. What does your uncle have to do with this? Is he
My
a
uncle
part of the
was
co-op?
assuming responsibility for the rent up until the case was dismissed on March 27th.
You mean assuming responsibility for what rent?
He was,
Does your uncle live here in this?
no,
Okay, does he own this property?
no, as it turns out, no.
Oh, okay, and so, after your grandmother passed away, this is your grandmother's son?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so you were giving your rent money or believing that your rent was supposed to be given to your uncle?
Correct.
Okay, well, then you need to sue him if he took your rent money. But that has nothing to do with this. Judgment in favor for the plaintiff for $3,796 plus court costs.
Thank you. Your Honor. I do
You have to pay that or vacate in 10 days.
Okay, thank you.
Judge, I also have a dismissal form as to Jeanette Dugan, so her name can be removed from the matter.
Thank you. Okay, so the total of court costs look like they're $225.43 is $4,021.43. Your rent date is gonna be the 21st of April. So you'll pay that amount in full, or you'll have to vacate by then, okay? Get your copy of this in just a moment.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome.